Hi, everyone. Welcome to the How We Hustle podcast.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Tanya. And we invite you to join us in our unfiltered conversation about the real life hustle of being an entrepreneur. For more information about the podcast, check out howwehustlepodcast.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at How We Hustle Podcast, where you'll get notable quotes from our episodes and updates on live new episodes. So head over to Instagram and follow us at How We Hustle Podcast.
All right, Tanya, today is our 1 year anniversary. No, not that kind of anniversary. It's our podcast anniversary.
Yeah, our podcast is 1 year old and it's been an amazing journey so far, wouldn't you say?
I can't believe how far we've come. We've done 61 episodes. This will be our 62nd episode. And that's actually quite a lot. We've put a lot out there. We've also evolved. A lot has changed between us. I was actually talking to some people and they're like, I'm going to start listening to it from the beginning. I'm like, no, start the other way around from the back. Because it's like we've evolved so much. And it's like, I feel like we're different people than we were when we started this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We're such different people. And I actually haven't done that. I wonder what it would be like if I did go back and listen to those episodes, because it's crazy how much has changed in a year. I was just having the same discussion on my Facebook page and on my Facebook group, because it was also a year since I did a live video for the very first time. So I was reminiscing on how much has changed since I took that leap. And since we took this leap, our whole lives have changed.
Yeah. And I guess that's sort of a good thing, you know? So what has changed?
In my business, or in my life? I mean, for one, I quit my job, which was a huge, massive step. And I went full-time entrepreneur. I've booked out and booked out my group programs multiple times. I'm fully booked with one-to-one clients. I'm making more money than I was making in my 9-to-5 job. I get to do everything that I want. I golf every day. I mean, I work with the most badass, amazing clients ever. And I feel like my life is a dream. What about you?
Yeah, well, a lot's changed in my life too. When we started this podcast, I was running the business that I've been running for a long time, and I've since sold that business, and now I am doing something new. So yeah, we're both in very different, but almost, I won't say better, because better, I mean, yes, better, but just different. We've evolved. It's just a complete evolution at all times. So we're both growing, and that's good.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that's changed for me is certainly this podcast gave me the confidence to share my voice. I know people will not believe this, but I used to be afraid to speak in front of people, in groups, even at parties. I didn't really like sharing my opinions or sharing my anything. I didn't like to speak in big groups. And I think that this podcast gave me the confidence to start speaking about all the things that I knew and what I was learning and how I could help people, which also helped me with live video, which also helped me just share my message and grow my business. Because if you can't share and speak about what you do and how you can help people and share the knowledge that you have, it's pretty hard to promote yourself in your business if you're not talking about it.
Yeah. And I'm the same way too. I don't really I'm not an extrovert. I'm definitely an introvert. So sharing myself on a podcast like this, the only reason that I'm able to do it is because I just think of it as a conversation with you. I don't really think about the fact that we're broadcasting.
Me either, really. But actually, if you guys met Mike in real life, most people are like, oh, he's very quiet. And on the podcast, I feel like
Well, I don't have a choice on here, do I?
No, I don't think so. But I think it seems like you're very comfortable speaking in front of people here, which means that's going to...
But I'm not speaking in front of people. I'm speaking in front of you, and I know you very well. So it's a little bit easier. So today we are going to maybe go back to our roots a little bit and talk about a mindset thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we kind of go between talking about tactics and mindset and other things as well, but our mindset episodes always seem to
I think that that's the major thing that holds people back, right? It's the mindset that holds you back from taking those big, scary leaps. It's your mind, your fear, your self-doubt, and your feelings about yourself, your business, your confidence. All of that is really the thing that gets in the way. Like being a business coach, I see it every day, that it's not actually the steps, not knowing the steps. Yeah, yes, that's part of it, but I would say such a small part of it, maybe 10 to 20% of it is actually knowing the steps, and the rest of it is implementing it. And to implement it, you have to believe in it. You have to take action. You have to put yourself out there. And I think that that's where people get stuck, and they come up with all these excuses as to why they can't do the actions or the steps. And really, it's them getting in their own way. Like we get in our own way. Like we get afraid. We could be afraid to put money, like to invest in something. We can get afraid to, for us, like share our voice, share our message. What if people don't agree? What if people don't like us? What if people judge us for what we have to say? What if we make a mistake? All of these things. Or what if it's not perfect? What if it doesn't sound perfect? What if we don't know how to do something and it holds you back from actually just starting? Because as one of the very early episodes we talked about is no one starts out as a professional. We didn't start out as a professional podcaster. We're not professional podcasters, but we took action and we take it consistently in order to have this podcast.
Yeah. And that's the same way with me. Like mindset has been the thing that has carried me through like the beginning, over a decade of just like being a business person or an entrepreneur. It's like I have cultivated an entrepreneurial mindset, and that carries me through like things that I would otherwise be scared of. And I'm still scared of. Like when I signed up to be a coach with you, I was like scared of the investment I was making. But because I have long cultivated like the mindset, I knew that like that is what I should be doing. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is what to do with your money. And just to preface that, like we're talking to entrepreneurs. Like when we say what to do with your money, you can do whatever you want with your money. But, you know, this show is for entrepreneurs, people that generally want to use entrepreneurship to shape their life as they want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's not a short-term solution for your money. It's not a short-term solution for your life. It's like people that want to be an entrepreneur and live this life forever. I mean, forever seems like a long time, but that you're committing to being an entrepreneur rather than being in a job where somebody pays you a certain amount of money and you save for retirement, because then you have no income. There's no other income stream coming in when you decide to retire as you age.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to sort of say, like, you know, we're talking, I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, but not everyone is an entrepreneur. So not everyone is going to agree with what we're going to say. So last weekend, I was having dinner with my mom, and she was saying to me, she's like, how's it going? I'm like, you know, it's good. She's like, so how's business going? I'm like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm building my new business. And she's like, well, what are you doing for money? And I said, Mama, like I sold my business recently, like I have money. And she said, well, yeah, but you can't spend that. I'm like, well, what do you mean I can't spend that? She's like, well, what about retirement? I'm like, what do you mean? What about retirement? But what she's getting at, and this isn't like about my mom. This is just about like my mindset versus her mindset, or more specifically, like my mindset versus our parents' mindset, specifically like our parents who kind of chose a different path, because that was what made sense for them when they were, you know, choosing their path. So my mom was sort of saying like, take the money you made, invest it for the long term, you know, maybe in mutual funds or something, and then start over. She even said to me, why don't you start working at a bar just on the side while you're figuring it out? And this is like totally, I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? I am definitely not doing that. I just sold my business. I am not going to like do it that way. But it kind of highlights the difference between like an entrepreneurial mindset and other people. Like, so I sold my business. I have more money in the bank than I've ever had now, but I'm broke. I'm broke because I don't have any income. So like other people would be like, okay, you have this lump sum of money. Now you should save it and save it for the long term. But that's not my approach. I know that's not your approach either. My approach is take the money I have. I'm not going to use the word spend, but I'm going to say direct it in a way that will, create income. I'm not about saving money.
You're investing it in yourself. You're investing it in your business. Like the way that we use money is to reinvest it into growing it. We just don't grow it by only using the stock market. We're growing it by creating a business that generates income for the long term.
Right. So I guess what I was kind of saying is like the question of this episode is what to do with your money. And the answer is invest it in yourself. Don't save it. Invest it in yourself. I always like to say that money, you say money is energy. Money needs velocity. Money needs to move. Like keeping money stagnant is not how you should be treating money. So like if you have a lump sum of money, like let's say you have $100,000. If you just save that money, what are you going to do with it, right? Like it's just going to maybe grow like a little bit like through interest, but really it's not doing anything. It's just stagnant. It's not going to get you anywhere. You're not creating any income. Income is the solution. So like investing it in yourself, whether it's hiring a coach or learning or investing in your marketing, investing in advertising, those are things that are going to grow you, grow your income, and ultimately like exponentially grow your business. By just parking that money in some savings vehicle, which is what most people are sort of taught to like intuitively feel like they should do. Even buying a house is really just a savings vehicle. And this is like a little contentious, and I know that you and I kind of agree on this, but like if you buying a house just to live in, really you're just, giving yourself a savings vehicle. You're not creating income, and that's not what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs use their money to invest in themselves and create income.
And also, I look at money as that it ebbs and flows, right? It comes in, it goes out. I don't own that piece of paper, right? The piece of paper is a shared contract between Canadians that this is what this piece of paper is worth, and we exchange it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for goods and services that better our lives. So I don't really consider the money in my bank account to be something I own. It's something I'm holding on to right now, where I'm going to exchange it for something else in the future. And I'm going to use it to grow something else or to create something else, right? It's really just like something we agreed was worth this much. But if you can use that money to grow something that's worth even more, then you're creating value. You're creating more money in the world, more value in the world by using what you have to grow something more. Like, for example, a seed, right? At first, when you get it, it's just an itty bitty seed. It has no use to us. Maybe you can eat sunflower seeds, but that's about it. Or pumpkin seeds, you can eat them. But if you plant it in soil and water it and give it light, then it will grow into food. It could grow into flowers. It could grow into something else. So like, that's how I see money. It's like you're given a seed, a piece of paper, a coin, whatever, and you're going to use it to grow something of bigger value.
Right. Like when I said I was broke a few minutes ago, all I meant was like, if all I have is a lump sum of money, you can't just take a lump sum and just like whittle it down. That's basically broke. You got to keep it moving and grow it. Like I was hanging out with you the other day and you were telling me about, the money that you're spending on this and that to put out there, to grow your business. And like, it's a fair bit. Like you bring money in and you push money out. But it's like the money you push out is just going to exponentially come back and grow your business and your brand. And it's just like growing, growing, growing. I know this sounds simple and obvious, but like it all gets back to abundance versus scarcity mentality. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, like you really have to shut down that scarcity mentality. You really have to avoid, hoarding your dollars as if like they're not going to come back to you. The only way to grow your dollars and your business and yourself is to like push that money, push that energy back out into the world and make it do something for you so that it will come back multiplied. If you like are scared of losing it and you just kind of save it, it's really just going to.
But saving is under the idea that it's not going to be coming back to you again, right? If I spend it, then it's not coming back to me. Like when I look at money and when I spend money on my business, though sometimes like when I'm up leveling, it still can be a little bit scary, but I have a mantra now that helps me. And it might seem stupid or silly to other people, but for me, it works. It's just like, if this helps me get one new client, it'll be worth it. And that's how I look at the investments that I'm making in my business. Like as everyone knows, I talk about this all the time. I have such website shame, and I just cannot invest in fixing my website because I don't see the value of how that's going to bring me a client. And so I'd rather spend large sums of money on things like Facebook ads, on Facebook ads experts, on my testimonial video that I just had created, on virtual assistants to help me with my social media or to help me with administrative tasks so that I can work more with my clients, create more content for my clients. Like I got into this business because I wanted to help people. I didn't get into this business to be a Facebook ads manager. I didn't get into what I'm doing to answer emails all day. I didn't get into what I'm doing to manage my finances or actually to even like cook food. Like that wasn't why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I wanted to help people get out of their 9-to-5 job and live a free life with their own business that actually makes them feel like they're not working at all. And so, yes, that means creating automation systems, but I know how to do that and I can help other people do that. So I'd rather work with clients than spend time doing things that there's an expert that could help me and that could help me grow it more so than if I had spent time doing it myself. And then I can get back to the thing that is in my zone of genius, which is coaching people on growing their business.
Yeah, it's also about thinking big too. Like just to arbitrarily pick a number, a lot of people, if they were to have $20,000 in their bank account, they'd be like, they feel really good about themselves. But like, if you try and protect that money, you're not going to grow to big, to become big. And it's like you're kind of limiting yourself. It doesn't matter, and you can use any number, and you can like replace that number with any number, being $100 or $100,000 or $1 million. But you got to keep thinking big, thinking the next level. And to do that, you really got to keep investing in yourself. I was listening to Tai Lopez the other day, and Tai Lopez spends millions of dollars a year on YouTube ads and Facebook ads and whatever. It's like, it's scary to spend millions of dollars on ads, but that's how he brings in tens of millions and hundreds of millions or whatever it is he's bringing in. He's just
I think
up-leveling.
that's a good example of how you need to be aware of your return on investment. But that's always how I describe Facebook ads. Like for me, I use a lot of Facebook ads. He uses YouTube ads, but it's the same concept of if I told you that you'd have to give me $1,000, but I would return it for $10,000. No one is going to say no to that. And in fact, I bet you that people that are like, well, I don't have $1,000, but I bet that you would find that $1,000 if I promised you that you would make $10,000. And that's the mentality that I have and that most people have when they need to invest in advertising like Facebook or YouTube ads, is because you're putting it into ads that you're getting a return on investment. You have a system to turn those subscribers into clients, into like dollars, and then you're watching your return on investment to ensure that you're still getting that margin that you desire to get from your investment. But at the beginning, yeah, it's terrifying to be like, okay, I'm going to spend $1,000 if you've never spent anything. It's terrifying to spend $1,000 on Facebook ads, or even for the first month, maybe you're only spending $200, but you have $0 coming into your business. But what happens if you spend that $200 and the next month you make $2,000? Like you would find the $200, you would borrow it if you needed to because the next month you would have that money back. But it's people that are afraid that what if I don't have the money next month to pay that? What if I don't? And it's like, if you don't, then what are you going to do to ensure that you do? How are you going to ensure that you get the value that you make those, like, turn those free subscribers into paying clients? What are you going to do in order to help them transition or warm them up or bring them up to that level? You have to actually use the investment as well, and not just like hope that it's going to work, but have a strategic system on, okay, I'm going to bring them in. They're going to go through this process. My return on investment, this is how many people out of 100 generally will purchase. If 100 people go through my funnel, let's say 10 people purchase, then my return on investment is this much if I get 100 people in. So that's how much I need to make sure I'm like not spending over this amount of money, and I will be getting the profit that I desire to make.
Right. So if we get back to like the mindset question, if you have $1,000, like, don't hoard it. It's energy. Push it out there. And it's scary to push it out there, especially if all you have is $1,000. But maybe if you have $1,000, let's talk about $100, you know, like, just, it's very natural to want to hoard that money, but that is going to stand in the way of your entrepreneurial growth. And like, this is a lesson that we all learn over and over and over. I have to always like check myself to be like, am I, what mindset, what, scarcity or abundance, what am I subscribing to in this moment right now? Like when I am considering, when I considered hiring you as my coach, I had to question myself, like, that's a significant amount of money, but what am I going to do if I save it? Like, what's that going to do for me, right? So I have to push it out into the world and make it as an investment, because that's how an entrepreneur thinks. And like that mindset that I've cultivated over a long time has really actually made that decision pretty easy. Even though I had to second guess myself or question myself in that moment, the long-term cultivation of that mindset like made it sort of an easy decision, because I knew deep down that that's what I have to do to bring back that abundance in my life that ultimately I'm seeking.
Mm-hmm. And I think it also has to do with, what is the desired outcome, right? If you're going to put in this much, what do you desire to get out of it? And if you get a $1 million business out of investing in a coach, like, you're going to look back on this day and be like, wow, thank God I did that, right? It actually, today is my business coach's birthday. And I was saying to her that I'm like, I can't even imagine if she had not come into my life. Like, I'm still working with the same business coach, and I wouldn't have any of this stuff if I had been too afraid, because I had already invested so much money into my business. And if I had still been afraid to invest more in a business coach that I definitely couldn't afford at the time, I wouldn't have any of this. So looking for, what am I avoiding doing? Because also, not only will it condense your timeline, right? Hiring or outsourcing or getting support doesn't just condense your timeline, but it also, like, what if you never got there? Like, do you want to make that kind of money? And if you wait, are you going to be better off, or are you just going to be a year still in the same position? Like, are you going to be in the same position in a year from now if you do nothing differently? If you just keep doing it on your own, or if you never get any help? A
great point is to like look to the future and think like, what is the life that I want to have? For example, like my mom said, you should be thinking about retirement. So what she's really saying is take the money I have now and like buy mutual funds so that when I retire, it's there for me. But like that's not the life that I want. When I look forward, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, I don't want to be, I want to have my own business. And like, I don't see myself when I get to retirement cashing in my mutual funds so that I can pay my bills. I see myself living off the cash flow from the various assets that I've built and et cetera, right? So it's like, look to the future and map a plan today that gets you there. Don't make sure that there's an alignment between today and tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't do that. They have this goal for what they want tomorrow, but they don't either they're willfully blind or they just don't want to make that plan because it's really easier in a lot of ways not to, because it's a lot more comfortable to just, live by a scarcity mentality. But, they say I want to be rich, but what you're doing today is not going to get you there. So really, you're not creating alignment between today and tomorrow.
Also, though, I don't necessarily think that a lot of people have had any exposure to an alternative, right? I didn't really have that much exposure to an alternative until meeting you and reading some of the books that you told me about, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and stuff like that. I didn't know about any of this. I was just going off of, what my parents did and what I had been taught and what I had been told. Nobody really teaches you that there is an alternative to just saving for retirement in your 401k or your TF or your RSP. So there is an alternative to managing your money, investing your money, and how to spend your money, right?
There is an alternative to getting a job and buying a house and investing for the long term. There's an alternative to all this stuff. But a lot of people, you're right, they haven't been exposed to it. And that's why the entrepreneurial mindset is very hard to grasp. And that's kind of the point of this episode, I think, is just to nothing we're saying right now hasn't already been said. But the more you hear it and the more people you hear it, the more perspectives you hear it from, you and I, right? We all heard it before. But whenever I hear this, I've been listening to podcasts last few days and I just love this topic of what to do with your money, because the more I hear other people tell me, the more it reminds me once again that I'm on the right course. That when I choose to use my money and put it out there to multiply, as opposed to, employing scarcity mentality, I am doing the right thing. I'm doing the thing that I know deep down inside is aligned with who I want to be tomorrow, what I want to have tomorrow, and also who I am today. But it takes reminding, Well,
I also think that, for me, it's funny because whenever I make money now, I'm always thinking of okay, how could I invest this to make it grow, or what support can I have to, better my business, rather than thinking about oh, I just made so much money. I'll be okay, how can I reinvest this? I feel I'm always looking for that next place to invest my money into my business and help it to grow, rather than looking for how I can save more of my money and how I can invest it in stocks or things like that.
Yeah. All right. So we can wrap it up here. I guess the overarching lesson is, if you are going to be an entrepreneur, it's cool to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm. And look for places where you can take the money that you've made and grow it, or where you can invest money with a large return into your business. How can you create more from what you have?
And that's a wrap on another episode of How We Hustle. For more information, check out howwehustlepodcast.com.